What's up YouTube, this is your Eruption here with episode 6 of Spellbook Tips and Advanced Plays, and in this episode I'm going to be going over the differences between waboku and Threatening Roar. And if you're just building a Spellbook deck, you're probably going to be quite interested in playing one of these two cards, and at the end I'll give a summary of which one I think is better for this format. So the first one which I'm going to talk about is waboku, and I'll go over the positives of playing waboku. So if you have a face down Spellbook Magician, waboku is definitely the better option to have instead of Threatening Roar. Because if your opponent tries to attack into your Spellbook Magician and you don't want it to be destroyed, you'd actually have to use Threatened Roar at the end of the main phase 1, just before they go into their battle phase, which means that they won't be able to declare their attack, and your Magician won't get flipped face up. So if your Magician's effect, you'll have to flip it face up during your turn by flip summoning it, and if you do that, there's a chance it could always be Solemn Warnings or Veiled on its summon, so it's a lot easier to stop than if you used waboku and then your opponent attacked into it and it was still able to be flipped face up. So in that situation I feel like waboku is better than Threatening Roar. Also against Dracossack I think waboku is a lot better. If you have like a face up Spellbook Magician in attack mode and your opponent goes for Dracossack, there's a decent chance that they'll probably try to go for the damage and attack into your Magician, and with Threatened Roar, you'd actually have to use Threatened Roar at the end of the main phase, which is a key point which I'll probably keep coming back to, because when your opponent goes to leave that main phase, you'll have to use Threatened Roar, because by the time you're in the battle phase, your opponent has the opportunity to declare their attack, and then it would be a bit too late for you to use Threatened Roar because the attack's already been declared. So you'd have to use it at the end of main phase 1. By doing this, your opponent will still be able to use Dracossack's effect in main phase 1 or main phase 2, so Threatened Roar isn't really too good there. Whilst with waboku you can wait for your opponent to declare an attack with Dracossack, then flip waboku, and then your opponent can't go to main phase 2 and use Dracossack's effect. So I feel like waboku is a lot better when it comes to Dracossack. Also waboku is a lot better when you have a monster with the same amount of attack as your opponent's monster. Like if your opponent has a High Priestess or Prophecy on the field and you have a Prophecy Destroyer, you could use waboku and use your Destroyer to attack into the High Priestess, and only the High Priestess will be destroyed. Whilst with Threatening Roar it's purely defensive, so waboku's, it can be used offensively and defensively, whilst Threatening Roar is just sort of defensive. Also against hand traps like Honest and Kalut, waboku is a little bit better than Threatening Roar, and the reason is because it's this recurring theme with Threatening Roar is that you have to keep using it when your opponent's about to change it into the battle phase, not once they're in the battle phase already. For example, if you have a High Priestess on the field and your opponent has a Lila, and they're leaving their main phase to go to the battle phase, they could be bluffing an Honest, and if you wanted to keep your High Priestess on the field, you'd actually have to use your Threatening Roar right there, right then. Whilst with waboku you could wait for your opponent to declare their attack with Lila first and then use waboku. So in that spot it's a lot better than Threatening Roar. So now I'll just go over some of the points which are positive for Threatening Roar. So if your opponent has a Tiras, Threatening Roar is a lot better to have because Tiras only needs to declare an attack in order to get its effect at the end of the battle phase. So waboku would be kind of useless there. I mean, it would prevent you from taking damage and your monster from being destroyed by battle, but Tiras would still be able to pop a monster or a card, in fact, like during the end of the battle phase. So Threatening Roar is a lot better there. Against Gladiator Beasts, Threatening Roar is a lot better because it stops them tagging out. Waboku doesn't really do this. Also against Red Dragon Archfiends and Catastor, Threatening Roar is a lot better because it actually stops their attack rather than keeping your monster alive and reducing the battle damage. So against these cards and this deck, Threatening Roar is definitely a lot better. But overall, Dracossack sees for most play in E-Dragons and in Prophecy and in Murmur sometimes. So waboku already is like quite far ahead of Threatened Roar, and also Kalut is at 3, and Honest is still played. Some people still play Lightsworn, and Constellars are still a relatively popular deck, so you could expect to see an Honest. Blackwings kind of might see some play, but with Kalut back at 3, I feel like waboku is also it's sort of even more reason why waboku is better than Threatened Roar. And even though Catastor and Tiras are still cards which see a lot of play, Warning and Veiler are played in pretty much everything. So when it comes to Magician and being flipped face up and being flip summoned, it's a lot better to flip it. So waboku is also better there. So overall, I feel like waboku is better for this format. The fallback could easily change, and Threatening Wall could be better, but for the current run, I think Waboku is a lot better. Primarily because of Dracossack, I think Waboku is a lot better. So that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. And this is Zero signing out, and have a nice day.